Good morning, my name's Jolo from Maybe UK. We're here at Maybe Larford Lakes today to investigate the myths surrounding pellet waggler fishing. We've all tried it with varying degrees of success, mine being very limited, I hasten to add. So what we've done, we've invited Callum down today, ex-under-22 world champion, to show us whether it is simple, whether it's difficult, and what makes it easier. How are you, Callum?
Yeah, very good, thanks, Joe.
Yeah, it looks like it. Is that a fish?
Yeah, straight away, mate. Yeah, it didn't take long.
So, pellet waggler fishing, Callum. Simple, difficult, straightforward?
Very simple once shown. When I very first started the pellet waggler fishing, it was all new to me, but once I've shown the attachments, the right line, the right hooks and that, it become very simple. It all become about the feeding after, when you get your gear right.
F1, Callum?
Yeah.
Nice
F1.
fish?
Yeah, a big fish in Larford now. It doesn't take long to create a big weight.
And of course, fishing shallow will, in a lot of instances, I understand, pick you off the better fish as well.
Yeah, that's one of the best things about pellet waggler fishing, because you are fishing shallow. A lot of the time, if you catch 10 fish on this or 10 fish on a lead, a lot of the time it will be bigger.
Yeah.
So it's the one method that you can pick that will take out the bigger fish.
Now, I notice your rod isn't as long as I would have anticipated, so it's a relatively short rod you've got there, Callum.
That's what I've got today. I've got an 11-foot two-piece Maver power line. Now, when I first seen this rod, I thought that was perfect, absolutely perfect for my pellet waggler fishing. Yep. It's not too long. It makes your bite presentation and everything very quick. When you get a bite, you're very quick straight into the fish. The best thing about having short rods is when you actually hook the fish and you come to net it, like I did then, the fish comes up very close to you. Right. So you don't need a long landing net handle, and it becomes a lot quicker. It's also a very soft rod as well, which is
It is
also
very forgiving in the
important.
tip, isn't it? Looking at that, I noticed when you were landing that fish there, I mean, for your numpty, which I am, I hasten to add. That's obviously very important. You're not going to get the hook pulls.
It's the same presentation with pole fishing. We use light elastics and we use soft rods now. It's very important. You need to get every fish in a match in 5 hour spell. It's not a long time. So a soft rod and the right hooks and that is very important.
So your reel is what, a reactor light?
Yeah,
reel,
that's the new one's a Maver Reactor Light 2000, which is the smaller size, which is absolutely perfect for the small rod and waggler fishing. The bigger one's not really necessary. It holds enough line. It's absolutely perfect. It doesn't unbalance the rod at all. It fits nicely.
Now, you spoke about obviously getting all the component bits and pieces right and balance and everything. So what line have you actually got on that? Your main line?
Yeah, my main line is actually Maver Jurassic. It's very strong. It's 020 diameter and it actually breaks at 7.7 pounds. Right. Which is absolutely perfect for you. You don't want something too thick. You don't want it to start sinking as well. So it's also a very good floating line. It's very abrasive as well. So if you're fishing around snags, you're catching big fish. It's absolutely perfect. It does the job for me.
Okay, so it's abrasive resistant. I notice, I mean, this is something else that a lot of anglers, me included, have had difficulty with over the years. Obviously, to get the best out of any fixed spool, you've got to load the spool correctly, yeah?
Correctly, yeah.
Now, I've noticed you've got yours loaded to just below the lip, obviously, which is perfect, which aids the casting.
That's correct, yeah.
Now, I notice, again, from what you've got on here with your Jurassic reel line, you've actually got how much on that?
Yeah, basically, well, with this you've got 150 metres, but you actually get 150 metres free with it. Oh, right. So for most of the modern day reels, 150 metres isn't enough to fill it up. So you actually get 300 metres on one of these spools, which is enough to fill it up.
So you're doing away with the old need for the old
backing and
trying to get it right and taking it off and throwing it on. It's a bottle then.
Yeah, you just get your reel, get your empty spool and fill it up to the amount that you want. I don't overfill it, obviously that becomes tangles, but just below the lips, absolutely perfect. But with this spool line, it becomes very easy. Ideal.
Could you talk us through your rig, Callum? It looks simplicity itself, is it?
Yeah, it's very simple. It takes literally 2 minutes to set up once you get to your bank. Basically, I've started off, I've got an actual pre-tied Maver MT3 hair rig. Now they already come up tied up in a packet for you. It's an MT3 hook, which is very strong, which is very important with pellet waggler fishing because you do catch big fish. The actual hair rig has got the band, it's a standard band straight on the end of the hair. It's very close, which I prefer when I'm pellet waggler fishing. So that's absolutely perfect. It's the right bait presentation.
Okay, so it's the MT3 shape, but the MT4 because the fact it's eyed because you've got it on a hair rig.
That's right, yeah. When it's eyed, it becomes a little bit stronger, so it's an MT4.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
2, an 016 mainline, which is also very important. It's lighter than your mainline, so if you do snag up or any dysfunctions when you're fishing, you will snap off that before your main line.
Right, right.
Now, you lead up, once you get up to your main line, I'm actually using a Steve Mayo Pellet Waggler adapter, which is very, very easy to use. The first thing you put on your line is your 2 rubber stops. I actually put 2 on the line. One seems to be a little bit too loose, so I've got 2 on there to start off with. That's the first thing that goes on your line. Then you slide your Pellet Waggler adapter onto the line. Now that will hit against them. That will just keep it on it. Once you, if you hook a fish, if it starts moving, it's not a problem.
Yes.
And then the last component of it is actually a treble A shot. Now when it all sits down neatly together, the treble A shot sits up inside of the Pellet Waggler adapter, and the rubber stops just keep it down there very neat.
Right, so it's more aerodynamic than it would be if you got 3 or 4 shots.
That's correct. If you've got 3 or 4 shots in the line, it doesn't cast as well, but it does create weak spots in your line.
Right.
With this Pellet Waggler adapter, you've only got 1 shot on the line, so it's only 1 weak point.
Okay, and your float is
That's a Maver Poly, that's a float, so it's very, very buoyant. So when you cast out, when the float hits the water, it doesn't dive under, it pops straight back up.
So
you're
fishing your presentations there almost instantly?
Yeah, instantly. Most of your bites you get when you're Pellet Waggler fishing will be straight away. So you don't want a float that dives into the water and stays under for too long. You want it to come straight back up to the surface and give you bite indication straight away.
Okay, and hence the fact that's made in the way it's made with the poly.
Yeah, that's correct. The best thing about these Pellet Waggler adapters is how they cast. They cast like a dart, perfectly straight every single time.
Right. Now, feeding, Callum, we've looked at your tackle. How would you actually go about starting?
To start off with, when you're fishing shallow, then it's the same as the pole. What I like to do is fish and feed very, very quickly and little and often. When I start off with, I actually start off by putting your float in the edge. Yeah. Feeding before you cast.
Okay.
So you feed probably 10 to 15 pellets.
Unexpected, Callum?
Unexpected, yeah. Just drop my float in the edge and hooked one straight away.
So you think there's a few fish in the edge?
Yeah, maybe there might be some in the area. Just start off with put a new hook on.
Well, unexpected. The joy of fishing.
Yeah, that's correct. But the easy thing about these hair rigs is that if you do have a problem like I did do, it's very, very easy and quick just to take a new hook length straight out of the packet and you're fishing again.
Almost instant.
Yeah.
Now, you're feeding what size pellets, Callum?
I'm feeding 6 mils today. Yeah, I'm putting a 6 mil hard pellet on the hook as well.
Right.
Some days I do fish 8 mils when I want to fish at a greater distance, but today, with the amount of fish in your peg, it's very, very easy and you can catch them very close.
Okay, so the size of the pellet that you'd feed is dependent on the distance you're fishing.
And the size of the fish as well.
Which makes sense because obviously you can only fire 4 mil pellets so far, whereas you can fire an 8 mil pellet a lot further.
That's correct, yeah. I mean,
obviously the weight of your float would change accordingly.
Yeah.
And I notice here you've got some great big things. I mean, these are what, 6 SSGs, aren't
Yeah, that's correct, yeah. I mean, if I want to fish for bigger fish at greater distances with bigger pellets, you obviously need to go up in float size.
Right, so predominantly then you'd feed the same size pellet as you've actually got on your banded hair.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, you keep everything the same.
Right.
It's the fish won't try and detect any difference then if you just keep everything the same as
and I'm assuming that the depth you're fishing at is dictated by where the fish are, and that only, I assume, you work out during the session. Yeah,
that's correct. Yeah, when I'm fishing with the Pellet Waggler, I always try and catch it at the shallowest depth possible. Right. This way you eliminate any foul hooking. If I was to fish 3 foot deep and all the fish are at 18 inches today, you'll foul hook a lot of fish, which isn't good. I mean, a lot of foul hookers come off. I always try and catch at the shallowest possible depth, but you also catch the biggest fish at the shallowest depth. Right. So most fisheries like this, I will start off fishing at the length of the hair rig. So when you unwind it, like I've just done then, I've just put my float just a couple of inches on top of the knot. But with the feeding, I always try and keep it as little and often. Or feed before I cast the float out. Try and land the float right on top of the pellets where it's just landed.
You can actually see the fish's backs almost
Yeah,
out of the
coming
water,
straight out of
there,
the
can't you,
water.
that quickly, yeah.
Like I said, with the float, it pops straight back up to the surface very quickly. Now, if I don't get a bite within probably 10 seconds, what I'll actually do is put the rod back on the rest, twitch it a little bit so the line's nice and straight and direct to the float. And actually, you can actually see then what actually happened is when I twitch the bait, the pellet come back up in the water, it started falling again, and the actual rod pulled round.
And the actual simplicity of the way you're set up as well, even down to the basics of the rod rest, allowed you to actually catch that fish.
That's correct, yeah. And if you get everything direct as possible, like I did then, when I twitched it, everything was as tight as possible, it's possible to get them pulling the rod like it did then. I also try, if it's possible, to when you're actually playing the fish, if you can, is keep your bait going into the peg. If you're fishing a match where every single peg's in and everybody's fishing the same, when you're actually playing the fish, people can nick the fish out of your peg.
Right.
So when I'm playing the fish, if possible, just pick the catapult up, fire a few in, back down again. That just keeps the fish in the area whilst you're playing one.
So it is that important to keep that feed going in?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
If there's other people around you feeding more often and more regularly, they can nick your fish. So the harder you work at this method, the more fish you catch normally. This nice soft rod allows me to play the fish nice and gently, but still get them in quite quickly. Like I said, this short rod brings the fish up well within netting range.
Yeah, because you've not got a long landing handle.
No, not at all. No, it's not necessary when you're fishing with short, soft rods.
That's a nice fish as well.
Yeah. Like I said before, most of the fish you catch on a pellet waggler will be a decent size.
F1 car?
Yeah, F1.
Lovely.
Straight in the net, and we're ready to go back out again.
Now I notice when you're playing these fish, Callum, you're keeping the rod relatively low to the water, yeah?
That's correct, yeah.
What's the logic behind that, Callum?
You don't want the fish coming to the surface too early.
Right.
You don't want the fish coming out on the surface maybe 10, 12, 15 metres out. That's when you tend to get most of your hook pulls, when the fish comes to the surface.
Okay.
If you can keep the fish nice and low and bring them in quite close to you before you start raising your rod, you get the fish out a lot quicker.
Right.
Also, the other benefit of these nice short rods is that when on most of these commercials you do have some trees and stuff at either side of you. When you've got a nice short rod, you can put it to the side, you won't hit them. You've got enough room to do what you want, play them how you want.
Another nice F1.
Yeah, gaining weight quite quickly.
Well, I think after watching what we've just seen, the myths of pellet waggler fishing have been dispelled to a point. Simple, straightforward, obviously a little bit of preparation involved, but the way Callum's set up, the way Callum's fed, the way he's balanced his tackle, you've seen the results. Any further questions you might have about this, please have a look on our website at www.mava.co.uk, or should you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to email us at info@mava.co.uk. Thanks for your time.